this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking, and this is my second group of cards for Christmas, which of course has passed. But I just thought I would show you what I did, and remember these patterns can be used using any paper for any occasion. You just change the sentiments and the paper out. So here we are. I've kind of done all of the Cricut cutting and embossing. I've got a snow pattern on there, and I decided to really highlight the white and silver using black, and I'm just edging my paper. The edges on the embossing, when I cut the embossing down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, or actually 5 1/4 by 4, so that I could get a little bit of the black showing. The black is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. They looked a little rough, so I wanted to edge them in black so that they would kind of disappear against the black background. So this is one of our snowflake die cuts, and I love snowflakes, and I have a lot of die cuts in snowflakes just because I love them so much. Now this one doesn't have a stamp with it. I have some that are cut in such a way that you can stamp them too. So I used a little bitty snowflake to top the silver, and that little bit of glue will come off. I'll just have to rub it a little bit. So I'm doing the inside sentiment, and I'm using the same stamp sets that I showed in the first group. So I didn't like the way that it came out, just a little bit smudged. So no problem, I've made a whole lot. Thank goodness for 2 sides of a paper. I made a whole lot of these little bracket shapes, and then made them 1/4 of an inch bigger in glitter paper to just kind of highlight them a little bit. And I'm using just some liquid glue. You can use Tombow if you want, but you've got to use liquid glue on the regular cardstock that's going to go onto glitter, because it just won't. That's the only thing that's really going to stick to the glitter. So I'm still using my little Santa. And yeah, kind of like that's my little logo for the year. So I thought I'd put something on the front, and I'm using this real thin heartfelt holiday wishes. And not a good idea to try to put it on embossing. As you can see, it doesn't come out very well. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that up. That seems to be a cover-up card. So somehow I missed getting that. I missed a whole chunk of video here. Sorry about that. So these are some papers that I cut. This is a old die cut that I used for a giant Merry Christmas on the inside. And of course it had to be done in glitter. Now those are Picture My Heart, Picture My Life cards. And so I just put those on a background of scarlet paper and put a big strip of gold shimmer trim to cover the seam. Super, super easy way to make cards is using the Picture My Life cards, because they're 3 by 4. So you can just trim them a little bit. Now these two textured papers, printed papers, are cut 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So you cut them on the diagonal in your paper trimmer, and then you cover up the seam with some shimmer trim, and look at the wonderful background you get. And funny enough, you get 2 of those. So I'm just using my Merry Christmas on my bracket, and I'm just trying to figure out what all to put with it. I like these little, where did I get those? Those may have been from a kit, a Christmas kit. Anyway, just kind of stick them under the foam tape, and you have a little bit of a background, little dimensional thing. And these are my tag stamps. And look at what a pretty Christmas card it makes. And it's super, once again, super, super easy to do that. See, and here's the second, the second one. So if you want to save some time, this is a great design to use, and just super easy. And then covering up the center seam with whatever color shimmer tape that you want. You know, just adds to, you know, so I'm just trying out all the different colors. Don't really like the gold with it. This is a pretty pine green shimmer. It comes back to the silver, just kind of looks right with it. So you always want to leave a little tag of your clear on the shimmer trim just to make it easy to pull off the next. Just trimming a little teensy shave of paper off of it. And once again, so we've got a nice little pointed shimmer trim there. I really like that. I really like making a card that looks like that. The snowflake actually looks pretty nice on it. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, which one is going to fit okay. That one this is a 2x2 bracket here. And this is also from one of my Cricut collections from Close to My Heart. So you used to get so many images with them. Now we've got them more specific to the paper packets. If you have any of the cartridges, I've uploaded them all to Design Space, and it makes it, you know, pretty easy to collect them. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult. You just have to go to images and images that you purchased and go to image sets, and you will find your Cricut cartridges that you uploaded to Design Space, if you did indeed do that. Some more of my little greenery. Really like the way that adds to that card. And of course the Santa, of course. Always trying to think, is there something else I should put on there? You know, and as you can see, I really liked this snowflake with that Christmas tree. I just really loved that design, which is why I picked it from Pinterest. And I'm putting it on a glacier background that has like little tiny spots for like little snowflakes. And I think that looks real pretty with the silver also. Just everything is very, very, very cool looking. The kind of icy blue color of the glacier. I'm just kind of holding that one in place. And of course the little silver star to go on top. And I added the little snowflake just because, and I'm using glacier on the inside to kind of go with the outside. You can use whatever color. You could use black, it's fine. But, you know, I've got all these colors, so I need to use the colors, right? So it's Tidings of Comfort and Joy. That looks so nice. It's just really, I like the way when you add stamping to make it color coordinate with your any of your decorative paper. It just adds a little bit more, I don't know, just a little something extra. Now this is a different embossing folder that I have that has the snowflakes that kind of start off big and diminish down as they get closer to the ground. So I'm also edging this paper in the black. And only because not all of the paper is accessible to the black, I'm putting it on with the liquid glue just to have it hold a little bit better. because it's only gonna, obviously it's only gonna, if you put the roller on the back of the embossed paper, it's only gonna get some of the cardstock. So you want to have as much hold as possible. So I was really glad that I made a whole bunch of these thin cut snowflakes and trees and stuff. When you do that, it just makes putting your cards together so much easier. So if you make a whole bunch of them, then you can just go to your little box and pick which ones you want. And I added some more silver. You know, this was actually, that little silver snowflake, it's actually a snowflake punch that I had. So I just, when I cut my Christmas trees, I, of course, cut it onto silver foil. And then, of course, in between all the Christmas trees, there's a whole bunch of wasted silver foil. Well, who wants to waste silver foil? I mean, it's a little bit more expensive paper, and you just don't want to see it go to waste. So I took the scraps in between all the trees and just punched a whole bunch of those little bitty silver snowflakes. So that's a great way to use your paper wisely and get the most out of it, is to get a small punch of something coordinating if you've got it, and just punch away to leave as little of your fancy paper scraps as possible. So just my thought, I don't know, you know, I'm from the clean plate generation. So I just hate to see waste. Although, funny enough, the clean plate generation has plenty of waste just from not letting anything leave your plate and go into the trash. Just a little aside there. Post-Christmas, good grief, how much weight did you gain? How many pieces of pie did you eat? Hey! Okay, so I wiped off the red, and I am going to put this on in black to coordinate with the outside of it. It's a little strong though. You know, after using color for your stamping your sentiments, the black seems a little strong, but you know, it does coordinate. So I'm popping my trees up this time instead of putting liquid glue on them, and I like the little bit of shade that it adds to. I'm kind of wondering, do I want it to go differently this time? And I think, well, no, let me have those stick out. It does. The opposite side is real pretty too, though, I have to say. So I put it down on my card and then pop off the foam tape. And, you know, it just adds a little bit of a shadow around the tree, so you just get more depth. And that snowflake is getting ready to head right on top of the tree. See, and these look, and I have a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of those. So, and it's not like the snowflakes are ever going to go to go to waste, because you know your winter, my goodness, and this has been a heck of a winter so far. I mean, so many feet of snow around the country in such cold weather. So I'm adding just a little bit of my silver thread, and I'm just lifting up the tree to kind of get it under the foam tape. And it just adds a little glistening on top of the tree. So, and you know, once again, how many times have I said, don't hang on to your embellishments, use them. So I, you know, kind of collected a lot of the silver and gold thread. And so let's just go ahead and use it and add a little bit of glitziness to, I don't know, you can't have too much glitz for a Christmas card, right? So, and this stuff is so crazy easy to work with. So you just pull off a long hunk of it and run it between your fingernails, and it pulls out the little kinks from being on the card. And I'm just cutting off the ends. But you can kind of twist those little loops however you want. And I'm just adding more because I decided that looks so good on the one, I want to do it on a bunch of them. So you take out the little right angle kinks that happen. Just super easy with running it between your nails. And I am using a little bit of liquid on this because I didn't pop that one up with the foam. So I'm using a little bit of liquid to hold the thread in place. I don't know where it's going to go now. It's fun how quickly those little, the thread is slightly wiry. So just adding a little liquid glue, and I just kind of put my little loops in place. And it just really adds a little something. So I'm putting my stamps away just to kind of, okay, now what am I going to do? So this is also a thin cut. Not a thin cut, silly girl. It's a Picture My Life card. Excuse me. And that's the thin cut on the inside. And I put scarlet around the edges because the card is 4x6. So I trimmed off a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch on the top and bottom and made that card. And there's another, excuse me, snowflake card. And this is another thin cut. So those are the group of cards that I made, and here they are. So we've got a stamp of the month and some embossing ones, and then some just easy 5 1/4 by 4.5 backgrounds and Picture My Life cards. So this is my second group of cards. And, you know, if you haven't subscribed to me, please subscribe. Please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love if you would give me a thumbs up so YouTube knows that people are watching. So I'm going to go on to my third group of Christmas cards. Now these, the left-hand side are the November stamps of the month on a slimline card. 2 cards. One is with a periwinkle background. The other one is with, I think it's wisteria maybe, is the color, pale lavender. And then the 2 middle cards, the 2 little deer, are the stamp of the month for December. And so that little deer is just so sweet. And so I made it with stamping espresso onto shortbread cardstock. So there's the super cute forest critters. And anything that I've done here, I've either cut out or just stamped directly on. These are borders from a thin cut from a long time ago. This paper was from one of the kits. Anyway, it looks like birch or aspen bark. It's that white, excuse me, spotted. Oh, I used mocha. I was thinking it was espresso. So I'm going to go ahead now. The tan big, those things are, I'm using the light side and the dark side. And I'm kind of putting them one way and another way, and putting one as a light side and one as a dark side up, so that the lighter side in the back is kind of showing to be in the background. And those are hills. So like I said, it's from a thin cut that was called Borders. It came with a whole bunch of different, having trouble with a little bit of the white showing through, so I need to scooch it down just a tad. So I just thought using that would be perfect for kind of a hilly kind of background. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp the trees, and they look perfect against that background. And I'm going to drop some of the trees off the side there, just to have, It's a little framing. And I'm using the pine to add some little grass. I started off with too bright of a green, so I want to use the pine. It's a duller green, more like what you'd see in the winter. You're not going to see super bright greens usually in the winter in the northern hemisphere. So here are the little kind of pine leaves that come with this stamp. And, you know, it just kind of brings that little pine tree to life. So this is the sweetest little dough. I'm using the lighter side, and I'm just cutting like a 2.5-inch strip or so to. So it's not that big of a deal to do the fussy cutting on this. And I didn't want to put him on or put her on a white background. I wanted to make it kind of a fawn color. So once again, when you're cutting like this, you want to move the paper around. Don't move your scissors, move the paper. You wouldn't have to go up the legs there. You could just leave it a solid background, whatever you want. So that little guy it looks like he's trying to talk to you. Just so sweet. Too cute. Okay, and I'm popping him up a little bit with my foam dots. So he's going to be kind of popping up from the background. Anyway, this is a fun stamp. So it is still available. And if you have over $50 on your order, which we're having, you know, great sales right now, if you have over $50, then you can get this stamp for $5. Well worth it. It's got some nice little sentiments on it. You can put joy and love. Or, excuse me, great little tufts of grass, little lines of grass too, and I'm wishing you a lot of. So I'm going to finish off the trees on the other side. So you want to put down so you don't get your background all messy. So I'm just following the little sticks. Now actually, sticks can be sticks, you know, because it's winter and not everything has leaves on it, like pine trees. And so these don't have to be pine trees, so you don't have to put anything on them, just saying. But I decided to go ahead and make them pine trees, because I wanted to test this out, and it was fun to do. Now I need to get in between the trees, so I kind of need one on one side and one on the other. And this is called masking. And it just adds a little something in there. So I was thinking, do I want to put somebody else in here? I'm just kind of trying to figure out which one to do. So the squirrel, bane of my husband's existence. So he has to be in there. And then there's this teensy little sweet bird. And so I'm just getting some of the excess ink off. And I'm going to put a little bird right at the top of the tree. So I like my little little wild critters. I decided that the edge needed, just to give it a little bit more rustic look, I'm just kind of taking one of my daubers and edging it in the mocha. Just because it's a forest scene, so it just needed to be a little bit more rustic. So there we go. That was fun. I enjoyed that. So I'm going to do continuing from the front, wishing you lots of, and I'm putting joy in pine green. Boom. And then a little Merry Christmas down at the bottom. And I'm putting the squirrel on the back side. Anyway, that was fun. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that. And put my little critters on the outside. I love those guys. They are really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and make another. I'm trying the second generation. That's a little bit too light, I think. Yeah, it's just a little bit too light. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out. And I'm going to make a second card. So once again, I cut off the excess so it's not so awkward to deal with. So when you're cutting paper, when you're fussy cutting, you want to turn the paper. Don't turn the scissors. You're going to get a better cut if you turn the paper. A little bit smoother cut, less little sharp edges on it. Now these borders I cut a little bit shallower. And the nice thing about these is that they're irregular, so they're not all the same. They're not a perfect scallop going across. They're higher and lower and medium. So you can get kind of a nice little hill range with that. And you can just kind of have them go from, not have them right behind each other so that you get, development of perspective on it. Oop. Oop, oop. Hopefully that won't look too bad. It's a little messy, but, and I'm doing a second generation here. So I'm going to do, so you're kind of looking more deep into the forest. I put my little squirrel down. And really sometimes less is more. And I decided that I was going to put the little bunny down because the bunny's so cute. And I put him down in the corner here, but it was really too much. So, I have a problem of going a little bit overboard sometimes. But that's, people who know me may know that. Okay, so here we go with our little pine tree, pine leaves. And we need the second to do our masking. And it's really not hard to do this kind of masking. I'm not looking for perfection here. So, I'm just kind of, it was really pretty simple to do, I have to say. And I'm not going to go deep into the forest and do all the pine. So those can be just regular old deciduous trees. And then we're going to pop the little fawn up again, using strips this time. A little bit easier to deal with than the dots sometimes. And then we have a more in-depth forest here. But we're still going to wish you lots of joy with our little mocha edge. So I have to say, I had a good time making the cards, and it was kind of nicer than doing the, I mean, it was different than doing the workshop where you get, 4 different designs and you kind of set up your little factory and go after it. So this was just a little bit different. So this time I'm using the little grasses that are, about an inch or 1.25 inches long. And so you get a little bit more coverage of your grass. See, you really do look like you're looking into a deep forest. I'm taking off and putting back on. So I'm cleaning off. When I get to, where's my little bird? Putting my little bird up there. So he's second generation, so it's not like he sticks out a whole lot. He's far away, that's why. And then we got our joy coming again. So this is a great stamp of the month. I really like this one. And I think you can just leave it at joy. You don't have to put Merry Christmas. You can just leave it at joy. But I put Merry Christmas, which it would have been better if I left off the Merry Christmas because they'll be getting it after Christmas. There's my little bird. So cute. I think that little deer is going to bring a smile to faces. And a little happy bird. So there we go. There's that. And put my stamp away. I'm not going to use him again for a wildlife. Okay, what's next? What am I doing next? These are, so this is that snowflake paper. And I've got a silver background. That's the 5.5 by 4.25, and then I'm using the reverse side of the paper on the bottom. So I love how the top paper looks like a sweater. It looks like a winter sweater. So here we've got this for, card is quite appropriate for this year with the snow all around the country. I mean, even Florida got some very low temperatures. So I'm putting a Merry Christmas on here in red. And it just, look at how it kind of goes, it looks like it should have been on a round piece of paper just because how it's shaped. It's just perfect for a round thing. And then I've got this red, but am I going to use that? I think I'm using the white, that's the white glitter paper that's just a little bit bigger than the little sentiment disc. And then if I cover that, then just a thread of the red glitter paper shows beyond the white glitter paper. And I kind of like that because it's not just so overwhelming with the against the blue, just a little touch, just showing the little scallops. And the scallop is also, it's a die cut, and it can be used with a shaker window. That can be a shaker window cover, outside cover for the window itself. And I'm using my little pieces here once again, and they're going to be like little Christmas greenery sticking out from behind. And it's not behaving. So what I'm going to do is put Tombow all around the outside edge, and then I'm going to start sticking the greenery so that it kind of doesn't move around, so I can kind of place it a little bit the way I wanted it to be, the way I want it to look. Now, I don't know, that looks like you've been scared to death. It's like with your hair standing on end. So I need some more. So I'm cutting those up and putting them around. So am I really going to leave it like that? We'll see. I'm putting it on a tilt, so it's not just like hair on end, scared to death, little wreath. They're on a slight angle going around. And the nice thing about the Tombow is it allows you to pick them up and move them around a little bit. So that's a little bit softer looking, with it kind of being on an angle going around. I think that's a little bit better. And the red that's showing, the glitter red, is showing up just enough to kind of match the stamped ink. I like the way that came out. Ta-da! So of course you can't stop there. You've got to put some snowflakes around because too much is not enough. And here we go. So I'm just going to put some down at the bottom here. So that's going to be my card. Now I just need a card to put it on top of. Oh, some more. So I think I wanted to add some dimension to the snowflakes. So I'm putting some little clear gems on the center of the snowflake. And boy, that just added a little something to it. So it came out kind of pretty, actually. It's amazing. Sometimes you do too much, and then sometimes it's like, oh, that's pretty good. It shouldn't be such a surprise to me, but it is. It's, you know, you try things out and you think, you know, all you can do is try things out, and don't be afraid to try things out. You know, you can, you know, sometimes you can take them off or just make another card and, you know, but don't be afraid to try things out. You know, you are looking at somebody who is making stuff, and I don't have any artistic abilities. So the snowflake is this. See, I'm branching out here instead of using all Santa. But don't be afraid to kind of, that came out kind of cool. Not planned. Now this is something I started probably a month and a half ago with the November stamp of the month, maybe a month ago. And I just, did a bunch of stamping. I wanted to use a slimline card because I haven't been using them. And so I put the, what did that say wisteria? I'm putting Merry Christmas in the matching ink. Didn't like the way it came out, so I'm going to do it again. Better. And I'm going to put this on the white glitter, just to add a little bit of glitz to it, and then pop it up a little bit. So I trimmed the card in the, I think it's wisteria. So it's like 8 by 3.5 or so, 8.5 by 3.5, whatever a slimline card is. And then made a 1/4 inch smaller. And then just stamped. Now I flipped over one of the snowflake mandalas and then cut it out. And that's the backing. So I'm going to go ahead, put the Merry Christmas back on there, and a little snowflake going across. And then this is another one that I made, and I put Joy of the Season and just did a freehand on it. And so I'm going to do it with the Merry Christmas, and I'm going to make it in red. For a Joy of the Season. But that was a very pretty, so that's the back of my card. And this is, oh man, this is some really old paper that I dug out of my scraps. And they were actually 6 by 6. And so I'm just cutting those down to make, isn't that beautiful? Those poinsettias are gorgeous. So I'm making them like 3 by 4, thereabouts. And I'm going to put it on a silver backing. And this is going to be, I mean, I went through, so I have to cut that considerably shorter. They need to be like 2.5, half of 2.5. I mean 5.5. Half of 5.5 is 2 3/4, I think. And so that's what those pieces need to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and tuck one under the other, and then cover it with silver. That silver strip that I cut off. And so it doesn't have to be perfectly half and half. And so I think the silver looks real pretty along with the red. And this is, yeah. So I'm going to put some holly on here and one of my cutout hollies from Cricut. And I don't want to put Merry Christmas, I think, is going to go on the inside. So I want to put Joy in red, in a dark red, in the scarlet, and just put that right in the middle. And that makes a fairly strong sentiment coming at you. Really needs to get popped up. Yeah. So you see how simple it is to make a card. You know, you're dealing with 4 1/4 by 5.5. So if you want to have a little edge around it, you make the pieces so that they're 5¼ by 4. So you get a little bit of the color, the background color showing through. And then embellish it, put on your sentiment on a, round or square or rectangle, and then add a little bit of embellishment to it. In this case, it's the holly leaves and berries. And then Merry Christmas, thin cut. I mean, this makes for a very fast card. So especially when you're not doing anything, if you want to get ready for your Christmas, then cut out a bunch of things, a bunch of your thin cuts or Cricut cuts, to just make the whole thing go faster. So even though we're making individual cards here, it's still, I've got the whole off to my right-hand side there are all of my snowflake, all of my Christmas trees, my Merry Christmases, and whatever the little greenery embellishments, whatever you think you might use for, in this case, Christmas, but it can be for, other types of cards. Thinking Valentine cards or New Year's cards or Easter cards, whatever, Mother's Day cards, it's just, so here we go. Here's 6 more cards that I've made. So this is my third and final group of cards. So there we go. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please leave me a little comment. I would love it. And I hope you're gonna have a happy and healthy New Year's. So I wish you all the best, and thank you for supporting me in my YouTube endeavors, and I appreciate all of my subscribers out there. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for watching. Bye now.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Smith. Thanks for watching my video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and learn along with me. Thanks. Bye-bye.